Hello and welcome everyone to our 10th live stream for the Empowerment Podium, already up to 10. For those that are returning, welcome back. And for those of you that are new here, I want to welcome you. I'm so glad that you guys are joining us today, and I really hope that you guys will stick around. You can join this community by subscribing to this channel, following us on Instagram and TikTok, and liking us on Facebook. The links to those socials are in the description down below. Now, I am so happy to be joined by today's speaker on such an important topic. Today we'll be following a Q&A format, so if you want to get in on that Q&A and have a question for today's speaker, please feel free to submit any questions that you have in the chat, and we'll be trying our best to get to those during our discussion. All right, now without further ado, I would like to present today's speaker. We are joined today by Poorvi Pandey. Poorvi is originally from India and moved to Ireland for her Master's of Science in Business Analytics. Shortly after graduating and starting her role as a senior business analyst in Dublin, the world shut down due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This heightened her feelings of anxiety, low self-esteem, emotional instability, and loneliness to the point that she sought out help in the form of mental health counseling. She has graciously agreed to join us today in order to tell us a little bit more about her mental health journey, specifically during the last year, and what she has learned throughout that journey. So, thank you for joining us today, Poorvi.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me.
Of course. So, let's just hop right on into it and get our discussion going. I'd say let's just start with when the world shut down, because that's kind of where this story starts. So, what was your pandemic quarantine situation like? Where were you? What was your living situation like? Can you just give us a little bit of a glimpse into your lockdown life?
Yeah. So to start with, when this entire lockdown situation started, living with a housemate, but then she moved in with her parents. So I was alone for, I think, close to 3 or 4 months just by myself.
Wow.
And now looking back, I think that was the most terrifying time ever I had.
Seriously?
Like initially, it was a feeling of, it was a very weird feeling initially that you are enjoying working from home, but then at the same time, you can't meet anyone else, you can't go outside. Right. My only trips were to the grocery stores. I think that's the only trip we all took at that time.
Oh my God.
And I was completely alone at that time. But luckily after 4 months, I decided that, I'm going to move out of that house. I'm going to go and stay with some more people. I'm just going to change my house.
Okay.
So I moved to another house. And when I came to this new house, I had housemates. Nice. And it was so relieving to have some other person in the house to even, just talk for a few minutes during the day. That's 100%. It. That was a real life changer at that time. So 100%. Then I moved to this new house, and there were 2 more girls there, and it was such a strange thing that at this time when everyone were like, so lonely, we 3 strangers became so close to each other. Yeah. Because we had each other, that's it. So the start was very terrifying. Then it changed. But then after a few months, I realized that no matter how many houses I would change, I had a problem. There was something wrong which was going on with my head and in my life. So the living situations might change, but the things that were happening with me just continued. Yeah. But I was still happy that, there were people around me who understood that fact. Yep. And who supported it no matter how crazy I went at times yet. So
Wow. Yeah, no, I can't imagine starting out the pandemic with the whole lockdowns, just being completely alone, especially since everything was so uncertain. Everyone was so freaked out and we couldn't leave our houses. We couldn't possibly see anyone, not even outside or like anything like that. It was just like total and utter lockdown. So I'd imagine how isolating and kind of lonely that would feel. So it's not surprising to me that, that would trigger something mentally too, just like
totally.
I can't imagine.
Yeah. I mean, also this house that I was living in, it wasn't close to any busy street or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't even get to see anyone. Like it was, sometimes it used to be so quiet. Like the place was started haunting me in some
Yeah.
terms, you know.
Yeah.
Like it was so quiet, like a
Wow.
pin drop silence kind of thing.
Couldn't even people
And,
watch.
Sorry, say that
You
again?
couldn't even people watch.
Not at all. There was literally no one around me, and even people who were our neighbors,
Yeah.
because everyone was so scared. They just don't want to get out or talk to anyone else.
Mhm.
And we all understood that thing. Yet sometimes you just long to talk to someone and it's like,
Exactly.
please talk to me.
Yeah. I mean, there's only so far Zoom and Skype can go too. It's just like at some point you need an in-person conversation. So I completely get
Yes.
that. So,
Totally.
kind of piggybacking off of your thought about how, you noticed something else was happening to you, like mentally, throughout your various living situations in the past year. How did you find the pandemic was impacting your mental health specifically?
I think to start with, it was difficult, right?
Mhm.
And there's one thing which I realized in past 1 year is that I had many unresolved issues with myself,
Mhm.
which was coming from past or my past experiences, whatever it was.
Mhm.
So there were so many unresolved issues which were there.
Yep.
But the thing was that when you are living in a society, when you have friends, when you are going to office,
Mhm.
and maybe you just going out, you try to dodge those situations. Like you just don't try to like you don't want to face those situations,
Mhm.
and it's easier to dodge it because you have so many people around you.
Mhm.
But when COVID started, and when I found myself alone, just
Yeah.
by myself,
Mhm.
there was no other way but to face it off
Mhm.
and to have those discussions just with myself, forget others. And when those questions started coming in my mind, and when I started thinking about, whatever has happened or whatever is going to happen, like literally over this 1 year, I have lived either in past or in future. Like I forgot how to be in the
Present.
moment, or
Yeah.
how to be,
Mhm.
enjoy the present.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
Enjoying it, like everyone would tell you that, you gotta be living in present, but it doesn't happen that way.
No.
Like
Yeah, it's
there
hard.
are so many things from the past that horrifies you.
Mhm.
There are so many things of the future that also haunts you, like
Mhm.
and then there's always a jump between past and future,
Mhm.
and that doesn't stop. It's very difficult to figure out why that happens, and how you can stop it, how you can change it. Like no one has answers to it.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean that is what happened during this pandemic, and in fact the last year, that I had to really answer those questions for myself. And what happened? Was I at fault? Was someone else at fault?
Yeah.
Why it happened? And I was even connected with my friends and with my sister. And I used to tell them everything that's running in my mind, because that's the kind of person I am. You like there are different kinds of people. One who do not like to talk when they are in problem, or when they have this hurts going on. They like to be independent and solve it themselves.
Yep.
I'm the other kind of a person. Like when I am sad, I like to talk to people. I like to make sure that whatever is inside in my mind, I talk it through.
Yep.
So I was continuously connected with my friends and my family. And after a time, I started thinking that why do I always go with one or the other issues to my family and to my friends? Like even that became a problem for me.
Yeah.
And then after some time, I just shut off completely. Like I even stopped sharing things, because I thought that every time I'm starting a conversation, it is all starting with a negative notion to it.
Yeah.
And I couldn't just feel positive about anything. So
Yeah.
I don't think that mentally I was stable.
Yeah.
I think I've been challenged in so many ways. And it's not very easy to describe it, but there were so many challenges which I had, which as a person, if you would see me, you wouldn't figure it out, because I would always be out there laughing, making fun,
Yeah.
making jokes, whatever. But
It's a mask.
only I knew that,
Yeah.
after that, when I'm in bed at night, I can't sleep because there are so many questions going on in my
Right.
mind.
Yeah. Ugh. Yeah. I totally relate to everything you just described. I think, to some degree, I think everyone in the past year has experienced some sort of, mental health struggle, whether that's because of the loneliness or just fear of what's going to happen in the future, being like wishing that you'd done more in the past when things weren't all locked down and stuff like that. So like, I completely agree with you. I think it's totally very, very important to stay in the present, like you said. I think our previous speaker, Bishoy, also talked about how important it is to stay present in the moment, and I think that that's definitely a helpful thing to try to keep in your mind. But I can totally relate to.
It's also the hardest thing to do.
It is the hardest thing, 100%, and I think it's also just so hard to not be able to like produce a positive thought in your mind, even if you like want to. It's like you want to cheer up, you want to be happy, but like there's just something that's kind of blocking that. So that's I can imagine how difficult it was going through that.
And sometimes it used to be so weird that sometimes you like to think about some positive things because that's what people tell you, that maybe just think about something positive.
Right.
I would start thinking about something positive, and then my stream of thoughts would ultimately take this positive thought and turn it into a completely negative, life-destroying thought.
Yes.
And I was like, no, you're not supposed to do that. But that's what my mind was doing. So ultimately, there was no positive thought at all.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. No, kind of piggybacking off of what you just said, but I know, like, when you're feeling depressed, even when you want to be happy, it's so hard to get yourself there, but people don't, like we said, they don't always realize this. People will say, they, at least in my experience, they'll say, like, cheer up or do something to make you happy. It's not always what you need to hear, and it's certainly not easy to do, as we've already kind of touched on. But it sounds like you've had similar experiences. So do you have any advice for people that are trying to aid, like, a depressed or sad friend? It's tough, right?
Being on the other side, it's actually a very tough question.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, like, I think that's the first reaction which any supporter would have. Like,
Yep.
If I'm talking to someone and if I'm telling them that I'm going through this thing, what should I do? Or, I don't know what to do. The first thing is that, just do something that makes you really happy.
Yeah.
Just do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it doesn't work that way.
Not always.
Like, when you are sad, or when you are having weird thoughts in your mind, and there are so many voices which are there in your mind,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, you forget what really happiness means. Like, I forgot what happiness meant.
Yeah.
I couldn't be happy. Like, I really enjoy painting.
Mm-hmm.
I really do.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
When those voices are there in my head, I can't paint. Like, even that painting gives me so much of satisfaction. It's a relieving task for me.
Yeah.
But with all these thoughts in my mind, I can't even paint. Like, I just end up making something which looks so horrible. Ultimately, it demotivates me.
Yeah.
So even though I've tried doing things, which would make me happy, it did not.
Yeah.
Like, it just didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, when someone is trying to support you, they really want good for you.
Mm-hmm.
And when they say be happy, is because that's the best they can do.
Yeah.
So I don't know what exactly you can do, but
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you, for me,
Mm-hmm.
this is something which I figured out, that, when I'm sad, I just want someone to listen to me.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I don't want someone to give me any advice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want them to tell me that, oh, I'm doing so good, I'm
Mm-hmm.
such a strong person. No, just listen to me.
Yes.
Like, let all my thoughts come out on the table, and let me just talk about it. That's it.
Yeah. 100%.
Don't give me any kind of support apart from listening to me.
Yes.
But then on the other hand, there are also different kinds of people.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, there could be people who don't like to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And the best thing you could do with them is be there and not poke them to, discuss about things.
Yeah.
Because I've been there in that situation, like, even though I was like sad myself, but then I saw another friend who was sad as well. And I wanted to be there for him and, to help him. But then I knew that he was such a close person that I can't ask too many questions to him. And he won't speak about it. He wanted to keep it to himself. So what we just did was that, sometimes you just hang out with them. You do absolutely nothing. Just sit down, listen to music, and give someone a feeling that, you are there for them when they need it. For me, I think that's the only thing one can do. It's more like, how when you are sick, if you have a fever, you would do a few home remedies. And if those home remedies doesn't work, you go to a doctor. Similarly with this thing, like talking to your friend, talking to your any support system, like be it parents, friends, anyone, you can only talk to them for a certain time. But after that, if you think it's not working, you have to go to a doctor. And it's not a like, I know how much I thought before taking this mental health counseling. I don't know why, but I gave it a lot of thought. But then I knew I needed it. I knew that it's very unfair to expect from my support system, like whoever it may be. It is unfair to keep them at a position that where they have to make sure I'm fine. Like, they are having their own troubles, which I'm unaware of, yet they are doing so much for me. So I think it's, as an individual, I think that we also have to make some decisions that in case the other person can't help us, maybe we could, take some sort of counseling or take some advice, which is very necessary. But what do you think about it?
I honestly actually really, really love the analogy you just made with, you can try home remedies and stuff. You can talk to friends. You can be a lending ear. You can listen. You can talk things out. But at a certain point, if it's not getting better, you have to seek out like more of a professional opinion. And that's, I think, obviously true in terms of physical health, but mental health as well. And I think that's a really great analogy. I mean, I think it's also just like, I don't know why, but there is this whole like stigma about how mental health isn't like a real like health problem, but I personally feel that couldn't be more further from the truth. Like, I think it's so important for overall health to also be healthy from a mental perspective, and I think that the stigma has to be removed. And I also received mental health counseling in the past year. Like, I think it needs to be totally normalized because everyone at some point in their life, I think, will go through like a rough patch. So, yeah.
And sometimes I even feel that I've been lucky in this way, that one, I knew that I have other ways of getting help. That is, you can go to a counselor. Secondly, that it was so accessible. There are so many people who do not have that accessibility. So I can't even imagine that, what could be other options that they can go for. And there are so many people who don't have this particular, like, they just can't get this help so easily. So I at least feel blessed in those terms that, at least I could go to a person, I could talk to them, and I could take some medical advice, which suited my condition.
It's definitely is a huge privilege having access to those mental health resources that a lot of people don't have. So, I think it's even more important to just talk openly about the topic and hope that it resonates with someone and helps someone who's going through a similar kind of rough patch from a mental perspective.
I totally agree on that point. I'm sorry, I'm going to elaborate that point a little bit.
Yes.
Because earlier I thought that, okay, maybe I'm the only person who's going through it, because everyone else that I saw around, be it at work or the friends that I was speaking to, they all seemed so normal. They all were happy. Whenever I would talk to them, they would listen to me. And I thought that it was just me. But then when I started telling them that, listen, I'm having all these things with me. Am I not being normal? Are you guys all right? Like, is it just me? And then they told me, like, then people started opening up and they started telling me they have a similar journey.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
You can't
you
tell
wouldn't
always.
imagine.
Yeah.
Yes, you just can't. And
Mm-hmm.
especially being on Skype all day with people that you know or people
Mm-hmm.
you work with, you can't imagine that what's happening in the background with their life.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it was such a surprise to me. Like even my own sister, she was going through the same sort of thoughts. Like her self motivation was down. She didn't believe in herself anymore, even though she was doing an amazing work. The same thing was with me. Like even though I had an amazing job, I couldn't believe in myself. Somewhere I was like, maybe this is not me.
Yeah.
Like imposter syndrome. It was just coming in
Yes.
automatically that maybe this is not me. Maybe I'm not doing the best thing. Or then sometimes it's about thinking about your parents because they are back at home. It's a pandemic going on. You never know when you will see them, whether you will see them or not. I mean, all those sort of crazy thoughts which are there in your mind, and it wouldn't stop. And I'm happy you shared it too, because I think you would have gone through a very difficult journey yourself, and we don't discuss it, but
No. Yeah.
it's tough on everyone.
Yes.
Right.
I think it's important to put it out in the open so that people are just comfortable seeking help when they need it or talking to people about it, because I completely agree. Especially in the age of like social media and stuff, I think it's so easy to fall into the thinking trap that everyone's totally fine. Like, I'm the only one that's having these struggles, or I'm the only one that's struggling right now. It seems like everyone else is like totally normal, having a great time, blah, blah, blah. And I think, it couldn't be further from the truth. It's just like a facade, and people try to hide things when they don't feel good. So I think it's important that everyone just talks openly about, mental health, physical health, everything, because it's not all that it seems to be when you are looking at like a screen or things like
totally. And again, you mentioned about social media.
Yeah.
I knew that it was somehow affecting me terribly.
Yep.
I did that comparison. I did compare my life with others. I saw pictures of others being so happy, and I was like, oh my god, am I the only sad person here?
Yeah.
So the only thing I could think of was to take myself off those social media.
Sometimes that's good, yeah.
It's been 4 months, and I am so happy now that I'm off social media. You have no idea how much my productivity has increased in different ways. If not 100%, at least a 25% of what issues I had was because of social media. Like, it's just not a fancy life having social media on, or to see people live a life. Could be superficial, could be not, I don't know.
Yep.
But still, I mean, it's just difficult, right, at times.
Yep. Yeah, I've had friends say the same thing about when they've been struggling, they immediately go ahead and delete Instagram, Facebook, all the social media apps off their phones so that they're not even tempted to, hop into them, and they feel so much better. So I think that that's definitely a good tool if you find yourself in that trap of thinking that everyone else is totally normal and having a great time in life while I'm struggling, because it's not true, but it would make you believe that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, totally. Yeah.
Okay, so I got one more for you to kind of close this out. But I know that I'm always telling myself, I'm a strong, independent woman, but sometimes I say it and I don't believe it. And as much as you try to convince yourself of that fact, and then I know, talking to you, that you've also experienced kind of the same thing where you're trying to convince yourself of something and it's hard to do. So have you discovered anything that works to convince yourself of that fact that you are a strong, independent woman? And what have you kind of learned about yourself in the last year?
Let me start by saying that you are a strong, independent woman, Kay.
Thank you. So are you.
And also very creative.
Thank you.
But yes, I think I had the same mantra. And anytime when I was low, I would keep telling myself that, listen, you are a strong, independent woman. You will get through this. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's not going to be like this forever. So I think it's literally same.
Yep.
There are days when I totally forget the meaning of strong in and independent. Like, I just don't know what that means. But you know how they say that if you keep telling yourself something, you just become that. So if I keep telling myself that I'm a strong, independent woman, I will become that one day, if not
You're
today.
just going to trick yourself into it.
Yes, and it's a very good trick, to be honest. Like, this is like a very gentle and kind reminder to yourself that, hey, you know what, it's okay what's happening, but you are a strong, independent woman. You got this. So and I have such a funny story that one day I went for grocery shopping. So I usually walk to the grocery store, and when I was coming back, I had these really big bags of grocery with me, and I usually get cramp in my right leg. I don't know why. No idea why. And I was coming back and I got a very bad cramp in my leg. And I was literally limping, and I've got these grocery store bags. So I'm limping and I'm telling myself, I'm like, listen, you're a strong, independent woman. You got this.
I bet you made it home.
I made it home,
There
yes. Without any lift, without any help, like a strong, independent woman, I came back home with my groceries. I mean, things these small makes a big difference. Like, you know, when you come back home and you get these things out and you're like, okay, I did this. So, I mean, it's just literally small things. And sometimes you have to fool yourself. Sometimes you start believing it.
I like it, though, the tricking yourself, because it does come down to that at certain points. And I've experienced the same thing. You just keep telling yourself until you believe it. So...
exactly. Yes. That's the easy rule, right?
Yes, exactly. I do have one more thing that I just thought of that I would be curious, but what would you say is like the biggest thing that you learned about yourself in the past year from your various like mental health struggles and just this whole crazy world in general?
There's one thing which I learned about myself is that I know myself really well. I know when things are going right. My body has a way of telling me that, you know, sometimes you need to take a pause. Sometimes you can run. So I know my body. I know my mind. I know what is right for me, and I know what is wrong for me. And that has helped me in a very big way. Because I knew, like, sometimes I had a really negative thoughts related to myself. Like, you know, maybe that I'm so boring, I'm not fun, whatever. Or I'm not a positive person. But then when I was talking to my counselor, I was telling her these things, and I was like, listen, these thoughts are there in my mind. But despite these, I know that I am such a fun person. And I am so, like, I'm literally so positive in life every day. But it's just a phase, and I know it, and it will get... like, you know, I'll get through it. So even my counselor told me the same thing, and this is something I realized it myself, that I really know myself too well. I know what I want. I know what I can't do. I know what I can do, and which is like a very good trait, I would say. You know, to know yourself, to do that self-discovery. And I didn't know this before pandemic. Like, you know, if someone would ask me what kind of person you are, I'd be like, I don't know. Now I'm like, okay, ready for a monologue. I'll tell you what it is. So that is one thing which I learned.
I love that. I think it's a very, very important lesson for everyone to learn at some point, you know, just truly knowing yourself, what you want and your biggest desires and stuff, because I think it's so important just in life to be happy, to know who you are. That's awesome. All right, so I think that's all the questions that I have for you today. So I believe that concludes our talk, but I just want to give another huge thank you to you, Poorvi, for joining us today and sharing your journey. I think you've shown that improving mental health is obviously a long journey. It's not a day's task, but by sharing your story, I think you're really normalizing mental health struggles and proving that no one is alone if they are suffering. So I think this was such an important topic and a great talk, and I just want to thank you so much for being so open and vulnerable with us today.
And thank you to you, I mean, for having me here. And letting me speak what I had in my mind, because I really wanted it to come out. And if I could be helped to anyone, or if this conversation could, if someone could relate to this and just take help in any sort of way, it would be an achievement for, us, and a big help for them. So thanks a lot for having me here.
Absolutely. Thank you again. All right. Now, before everyone runs off, I just want to do a couple quick shout outs. If you want to share your story just like Poorvi did today, let me know. You can email us at empowermentpodium@gmail.com or message us on our socials. As I mentioned before, we have an Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok account, all of which you can follow by searching at Empowerment Podium or at the links in the description below. So give us a follow there to stay up to date on when we will be going live next and to see some replays of our stories. Also, if you like this stream, please like this video and subscribe to this channel. You can also hit that notification bell to receive a notification every time we post a new video or live stream. But I just want to thank you guys all again so much for tuning in. And